Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Broke Boy Codes is back with his third ever YouTube tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at a LeetCode question, easy, called Count Largest Groups. And do not be fooled by the difficulty level because this one is a tricky one. So let's get on our thinking caps and really lock in for this one. Alright, let's get started. So you're given an integer n. Each number from 1 to n is grouped according to its sum of its digits. And then we want to return the number of groups that has the largest size. So it's kind of a poorly worded question, but I'm going to try to walk you through it with the example here. So say we're given a digit 13. So what this function is going to do is going to group together all of the sum of digits that are the same. So here it groups together 1, which the sum is 1, and then 10, which the sum of 1 and 0 is 1, so those group together. And then here we have 2, and then 1 and 1, 1 and 1 equals 2. And then we have 3, and then 1 and 2 equals 3 as well. And so what we want to return is how many of the largest group there are. So in this case, there's 4 groups that are 2 length. So we have this one, this one, this one, this one. So if there was two arrays of 4, we would return 2 because 4 is our largest array. So it's kind of a stupid question, but I mean, it's definitely a fun puzzle to solve. So let's go ahead and think about what we're going to do here. So right off the bat, since we're grouping things together, I think a map would be the best thing, but we could probably save a little bit of space by just using an array, because if you think about this question, the constraint says that the number can only be 10 to the 4, which is 10,000 digits. So its max number can be 9,999, and if you think about the sum of those digits, it's 9 times 4, which is 36. So at max, the sum of digits can only be 36 and lower. So what we can do is create an array the size of 36 and go through the n, and we can map for each iteration of that array. We can keep track of the count in that array. So let's get started with some pseudocode, and we'll kind of walk you through it as we go. So essentially, after we get that array, we need to loop through each integer, map it into our array, and then essentially keep track of our max value as well, and then update it according to whether, or we need to update it and reset it according to whether we have found our max value or we're still counting for it. So let's write some pseudocode. I know that's a little hard to grasp, but I think it'll make sense as we get going here. So we're going to need to create our map array as well as our variables plus variables. And then we'll start our loop. We'll just loop through n, starting at 1, of course, because we don't want to map 0. And then here we need to calculate the sum of the digit of the current digit. And then once we do that, we'll increment. Ooh. I don't even know if that's right. There's not an A in increment. Yeah, it's like that. Then we'll increment the freak counter at current index. And then after we do that, we need to check the max and compare it with our current. And then if it's larger, reset max and our cur count, and if it's equal, we will just iterate the current, and that means that is our current longest array of values where we're looking for the groups that are the longest. Okay, and then we can just return our current. After that, I don't really need to write that in code, but I will, just to be thorough. So that's ugly and probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but let's start writing some code and maybe it will. So first let's create our integer array of size 36 because that is the largest possible index that we're going to get out of this. So we can say int, we'll just call it a map equals new int array of size 36. Whoa. Okay. And we're also going to need a max value and a current counter. So we can just create those. Max value, we'll call it. Set it to 0. And then int cur equals 0 as well. Okay. Oop. And now let's start our for loop. So this is going to be our main loop. So we can say for int I equals 0 while I is less than, or ooh, what am I doing? Start at 1 while I is less than or equal to n. And then let's iterate. Of course, I mean, you can't just not iterate, right? It's a for loop. Okay, so once we're here, we need to first calculate the sum of digits. So we're going to have to use a while loop and use the modulus and some division. So let's first replicate I so we don't mess up our current index by dividing it. And then let's get a sum integer as well. Int sum equals 0, just to keep track of the current sum. And then we'll say while num is greater than 0, so while we need to get the last digit of the number. So if the number is 12, we need to get 2. So what we can do is use the modulus here, and we can say sum plus equals num modulus 10. And what that's going to do is essentially just give us our last number in our number. So if the number is 200, we're going to get a 0. After we do that, we need to then take the number and divide it by 10. And we're essentially going to do this until we get to the last digit so we can add up the sum of the digits. So does that look good? I think it does. I think that's all we need to do there. And once we get done with this while loop, we're going to have our sum that we want. So we're going to need to iterate the map value int. Yeah, we're going to need to update this value, map of sum. We're going to need to iterate that to 1. So every array with 3 digits, or this sum, say it's 3, so we're going to set the map of 3 to 1 since there's one number with that sum value. Okay, and we just did that, so let's go ahead and delete that. I'm not sure what I'm doing there. And we did that. So after we get done with that while loop and we iterate the value that was found, we need to check the max value and compare it to where we're at. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We're going to need to write a simple if statement. So we can say if max value is less than the current map sum, what are we going to do in that case? We're going to need to set the max value equal to map sum. So we can say max value equals map sum. So we're going to reset the max value. We're also going to need to reset our count. And I'm not sure. Yeah, we're going to need to reset cur equal to 1 because our current count is got to be reset to 1 since there's only one value in this current iteration. That didn't make any sense, but we're going to keep going. And then else if we're going to see if it's equal. So if max value equals the map sum, then we are going to, what are we going to do? I think we're just going to iterate the current. So cur plus plus. Okay. I think that looks good. And then once we get to the bottom of this, we can go ahead and just return our current count because that should keep track of where we're at. Let's see if this is right. I don't think it is, but we're gonna be confident in our code because it looks thorough. Sum equals 0. Quick double check. You know, let's just give it a run. I'm feeling edgy. Let's just get crazy here. It's not going to be good, but we're going to just run it anyway. Oh, so this is not a statement. Okay, what's wrong there? What do you mean? All right, sorry for the quick cut. I realize why this doesn't work. We got to reset the value. I don't know what I was thinking there, but I think we got it. And so it accepts. Sweet. So let's go ahead and submit this code and see how we're doing according to the runtime. And it doesn't work. Whoa, isn't that amazing? I think this should be actually 37 because we're working 1 through 36, not 0 through 36. So we're actually missing that last value. So let's go ahead and run that. And there we go. So the runtime is very good here, and the memory is also pretty efficient. So this is a great solution. I hope you guys learned something in that tutorial. If you didn't, go ahead and kick rocks for me. But if you did, drop me a comment and a like and a subscribe. And I will be back at this. I can promise you guys that. So thank you guys for watching, and see ya.